The room went still like someone had pressed pause on the world. Chief Obina's grand bedroom, usually quiet and full of peace, was now bursting with silent tension. Staff members lined the walls. No one moved. No one breathed too loudly. On the giant bed, dressed in his white agbada and red cap, Chief Obina looked like a shadow of himself. Oxygen tubes hugged his face. His skin was pale. He didn't speak, he only stared. And standing next to him, with trembling fingers but fire in her eyes, was Amara, the 16-year-old orphan no one had paid attention to. She slowly lifted her hand and pointed. "You," she said softly, looking at a young woman in a white cook's uniform. "You poisoned his food." Gasps rippled through the room like thunder in the clouds. Sophia, the cook, froze. Her lips parted. Her hands began to shake. "I saw it," Amara continued, voice growing stronger. "You poisoned the jollof rice yesterday. You thought no one would find out." Sophia's knees buckled. She looked like she wanted to disappear, but Amara turned again. "And you," she pointed at Jerry, the smartly dressed young man in a navy blue suit. "You took Chief Obina's underwear to a native doctor. You wanted him to die from chronic cough." A wave of horror washed over everyone in the room. "You both were in love," Amara went on. "You thought if he died, no one would stop you. You've already stolen $100,000 from his briefcase. You planned to share his properties, because he lost his wife and children in an accident, because he had no one left." There was silence. Everyone stared. Even the doctor dropped his clipboard. Sophia fell to the ground, shaking. Jerry just stood there, frozen, his lips pressed shut. Then Mama Adana, the chief cleaner, stepped forward, eyes burning. "This is not about forgiveness," she said, pointing at the two. "You both must fix this. You won't bury him alive." How did it get here? 3 days earlier. The sun hadn't risen yet when Amara opened her eyes inside her tiny one-room apartment. The ceiling above her leaked when it rained. The mattress she slept on was thin. The blanket was torn. The walls were stained, but the space was hers. She sat up and stared at the wooden table where her books were stacked, books from a life she wanted but couldn't afford. At 16, she had already experienced deep pain. She lost both parents in a tragic car accident. Then, her uncles and aunties took her father's house and pushed her into the streets. She begged to stay in school. No one listened, but somehow she wrote her final year exams and passed. Still, her dreams of university? It was dead on arrival. That morning, she didn't reach for her tray of groundnut. She didn't tie her wrapper or start shouting, "Buy groundnut!" on the roadside like she always did. She just sat quietly and prayed. "God," she whispered, "I'm tired. Please send Chief Obina to me, or send me to him." Everyone knew about Chief Obina, the billionaire who built schools for orphans, who gave scholarships, who helped the poor without asking for anything in return. Then something sparked in her. She didn't think. She just got up, combed her long, tangled natural hair, wore her worn-out gown, though the hem was torn, and left her room. She wasn't going to sell anything. She was going to Banana Island. At the gates of the mansion, it was taller than anything she had ever seen. The house behind it looked like it came from a movie. A security man sat in a small booth nearby, watching her with narrowed eyes. "Good morning," Amara greeted politely. The man raised a brow. "Yes? What do you want?" "I want to see Chief Obina," she replied. The man blinked. "Why?" Amara looked down, then back up. I want to speak to him." The guard studied her face. She didn't look dangerous. She looked like someone who needed help. "Go in," he said. "He always says never to turn away anyone." Her heart jumped. Inside the mansion, she was taken in by an assistante, calm-looking man in glasses who didn't even ask many questions. He led her down long marble corridors until they stopped in front of a heavy golden door. "He's not feeling well," he said, "but he still sees people." "Bear. Sick?" Amara's stomach dropped. He opened the door. The first thing Amara saw was the size of the bed, then the figure lying on it. Chief Obina. His once powerful eyes were now weak. his breathing slow, his skin pale. He had an oxygen mask strapped to his face. All around him were staff, his doctor, his assistant, his cook, his house manager. The air felt tight with worry. Chief Obinna turned his head toward her and motioned her to come closer. She did, slowly, carefully, her hands clasped together tightly. "Sit," he whispered, pointing at the chair by his bedside. She sat, quietly. Then the buzz started in her head. Voices. Not spoken words, but thoughts. Angry thoughts. Evil thoughts. Some panicking. Some cold. Then she heard it clearly. "If he dies tonight, we split the money." Amara turned her head. The thought came from Sophia. Another voice came louder. "I hope no one finds the charm. It's buried deep." She turned again. Jerry. Her breath caught. They were smiling. Pretending. But their minds were full of secrets. She turned back to Obinna, who looked ready to slip into unconsciousness. Amara couldn't wait. "Sir," she said quietly, "may I speak?" He nodded slowly. She stood, faced everyone, and then she revealed everything. "I mean you, Sophia," she said, pointing straight at the cook. "Why did you poison his jollof rice?" Sophia stuttered, stepped back, and collapsed. "And Jerry," she added, "why did you take his underwear to a native doctor? Why did you want him dead?" The air in the room turned to ice. "He trusted you," Amara whispered. "But you let your greed win." Sophia cried loudly now. Jerry bowed his head. "He has no family left, no children, no wife. You thought no one would know. But I heard your minds. You kept thinking about what you'd done." Obinna blinked slowly, eyes wide with disbelief. The personal doctor rushed in with medicine. "I have the anti-poison injection," he shouted. Mama Adana raised her voice. "Give it to him now." Jerry was grabbed by two guards. He was told to take them to the native doctor. Chief Obinna's oxygen beeped in the background. Then, just as the doctor injected the antidote, Obinna turned his head to Amara. "You," he whispered. "Stay. Don't go." Amara blinked in shock. She didn't move. She sat by his side. The girl who hawked groundnut yesterday. Now the only one he wanted by his side. Will Chief Obinna survive the betrayal? Will Amara stay in the mansion? What happens to Sophia and Jerry? Time will tell as you keep watching. The mansion felt different that morning. Amara sat by the edge of Chief Obinna's massive bed, barely moving. Her eyes were fixed on his chest, rising and falling, slowly, but surely. The medicine was working. The night before had been a storm of chaos. The shocking confession, the poison, the dark ritual, the security team arresting Jerry after his visit to the native doctor. All of it still felt like a dream, except it wasn't. And through it all, Chief Obinna had asked her to stay. She stayed. Now, as the early sun slipped through the tall glass windows, golden light warmed the room and bathed Amara's tired face. Her gown was still the same old, faded one. Her hair, though combed with her fingers, was still frizzy. But for the first time in a long while, someone saw her, not as a hawker, not as a nuisance, but as someone who mattered. A soft knock came at the door. It opened slowly, and Mama Adana peeked in, holding a tray with tea and bread. "My child," she said, smiling gently, "you need to eat." Amara stood up quickly. "Ma, thank you. But no arguments. You haven't eaten since yesterday," Mama Adana said, placing the tray on the table. "Doctor says Chief Obinna is stable now. He's sleeping, and you're watching over him like an angel." Amara sat down reluctantly and took the warm cup in her hands. "I'm not an angel," she whispered. Mama Adana turned to leave, then paused. "Whatever you are, you saved him." Later that afternoon, Amara was in the hallway, just stretching her legs, when one of the guards walked up to her. "Chief wants to see you," he said with a kind smile. She followed quietly, heart racing. Inside his study, the air was cooler, filled with the scent of books and leather. Chief Obinna was sitting on a couch, wrapped in a shawl, looking far stronger than the man she met yesterday. "Come in," he said warmly. Amara walked in. unsure where to sit. He patted the space beside him. She sat. He studied her for a moment before asking, "Who are you, really?" Amara swallowed hard. "My name is Amara Chukwudi," she said. "I'm 16. I lost my parents in a car accident 4 years ago. My uncles took our house, sold everything, and left me with nothing. I had to fend for myself. I sell groundnut at the motor park and underbridge." Chief Obinna nodded slowly, his eyes softening. "I passed my final year examination, but I couldn't go to university," she added, staring at her hands. "But that's not the only thing." She looked up, hesitating. "I can read people's thoughts," she said quietly. "It started as a dream. At first I thought I was imagining it. But then I began hearing what people were thinking, especially when they're about to do something evil. It's like their minds scream the truth, and I hear it. I've stopped robberies, fights, and even saved a mechanic once who was about to be attacked by his apprentice." Obinna leaned back, speechless. "I didn't come here yesterday to save you," she went on. "I came to beg for your help. I wanted to ask if you could support me to become a doctor. I had heard stories that you help people like me. I prayed that morning and walked to your gate." She blinked back tears, "But when I saw you lying there, and I heard those thoughts, I couldn't stay quiet." Chief Obinna slowly reached for her hand. His grip was weak but steady. "You saved my life, Amara," he said. "And I believe you. Every word." He looked away for a moment, tears brimming in his eyes. "You and I, we share something," he said. "I lost my wife and 2 daughters in a car accident 3 years ago. I've had money, power, fame, but none of it can fill the hole they left behind." Amara sat in silence. "You walked into my home like a whisper, but brought thunder," he said. "And now, I have no doubt, God sent you." He turned to her, holding both her hands now. "From today, you are no longer just Amara the orphan. You are Amara Obinna, my daughter." Amara's lips parted. "Sir?" He nodded firmly. "I will support you. You will go to the best school. You will become a medical doctor. I'll make sure of it. You saved my life. Now, I will help you live yours." Tears streamed down Amara's face. "Thank you," she whispered. That evening, a black SUV pulled up in front of Amara's one-room apartment. Mama Adana followed, along with the driver. As Amara stepped out, neighbors peeked through torn curtains and half-open doors. "Is that not Amara? Is that a rich man's car?" Amara opened the wooden door to her tiny room. Inside were a small mattress, a stack of old books, and a faded picture of her parents. She stood for a moment, then walked to the picture and held it close. "I did it," she whispered. "I found help." Mama Adana looked around the room and shook her head. "You stayed here alone all this while?" Amara nodded. "It was all I could afford." That night, she left the room behind. Meanwhile, back at the mansion, the case against Sophia and Jerry moved fast. Security footage, their confessions, even the recovered money in Jerry's locker. The evidence was overwhelming. Chief Obinna, though still weak, gave his statement. Amara's words were recorded. Both were charged with attempted murder, theft, and conspiracy. As the news broke, people online and on TV couldn't believe it. How can you betray someone who feeds you? What kind of wickedness is this? But justice moved quickly. The trial date was set. A week later, Amara stood in a guest room with pink walls, a soft bed, and clothes neatly folded in a wardrobe. She wasn't dreaming. This was real. She now lived in Chief Obinna's mansion. Her old life was behind her, but as she stared at the stars outside her window, she knew something else too. Her gift was no longer a curse. It was her calling, and she was just getting started. The trial is approaching. Will Sophia and Jerry confess everything in court? The courtroom was packed, not just with lawyers, journalists, and court staff, but with ordinary people too. Drivers, cleaners, even vendors from the market near the courthouse had come, whispering among themselves. This wasn't just another criminal case. This was the trial of Jerry and Sophia, the trusted staff who tried to murder one of Nigeria's most beloved billionaires, Chief Obinna. Sitting near the front row was Amara, dressed in a clean, well-fitted blue gown with white sandals. Her hair was neatly packed back, and a small necklace with her mother's locket hung at her neck. She looked calm, but her heart was beating fast. She had never been in a courtroom before. But today, she wasn't just watching. She was a witness. Earlier, that morning at the mansion, Chief Urbina had called her to the study. "Are you sure you're ready?" he asked softly. "Yes," Amara replied. "They must answer for what they did, not just for you, but for every person who has ever trusted and been betrayed." He smiled. "Then let's go." He was still recovering, but insisted on walking into court on his own, no wheelchair. Inside the courtroom, Sophia sat beside Jerry in the defendant's box, both wearing colored prison clothes. Their faces were blank, but Amara could hear their thoughts. She ruined everything, Jerry thought bitterly, his eyes fixed on her. Just a stupid street girl. Sophia's mind was louder, messier. What if they give us life? Maybe if I cry again, maybe the judge will pity me. Amara closed her eyes and let the voices fade. The judge entered. Everyone stood. This court is now in session. The trial began. The prosecution speaks. The prosecutor stood tall. "Your Honor, we are here today to present overwhelming evidence that Jerry Olatunda and Sophia Nwachukwu attempted to end the life of Chief Urbina, their employer, through poison and harmful traditional practices motivated by greed and the desire to inherit what does not belong to them." There were murmurs in the crowd. The prosecutor presented video footage from security cameras, audio messages recovered from Sophia's phone, the stolen money from Jerry's briefcase, and statements from other staff. Then, they called Amara. Amara takes the stand. The courtroom hushed. She stepped forward, hands a little shaky, but her chin held high. "State your name." "Amara Chukwudi." "Age?" 16. "And your relationship with Chief Urbina?" She paused. "He is my guardian, my adoptive father. I live with him." The courtroom buzzed again. "And can you tell this court what happened on the day in question?" Amara told her story. How she came to the mansion to ask for help. How she heard Sophia and Jerry's thoughts. How she pointed them out and revealed the truth. How Jerry later took guards to the native doctor and confirmed everything. When she finished, there was silence. The defense lawyer stood. "Miss Amara, you claim you heard their thoughts." "Yes," she replied calmly. "That sounds like fiction." Amara turned to the jury. "Maybe it does. But I've used this gift to stop danger before. Ask the people at Mushin Park. The mechanic I saved from being hit by his apprentice. Ask the doctor who confirmed the poison. Ask Chief Urbina. He knows I'm telling the truth, because I saved his life." The courtroom stirred. The judge raised a hand. Enough. After 3 days of trial and overwhelming evidence, the judge gave her ruling. "Jerry Olatunda and Sophia Nwachukwu, you are hereby found guilty of attempted murder, theft, and criminal conspiracy. You are sentenced to 20 years in prison without the option of fine." Sophia screamed. Jerry stood frozen. The courtroom erupted in noise. Some clapped, others gasped. The press snapped photos like fireworks. Amara? She just sat quietly, hands folded on her lap. Justice had been served. Back at the mansion, that night, Urbina called for a celebration. Only close staff were invited. Mama Adana, the house driver, the gardener, a few others. A small cake was placed on the table with words written in icing. To Amara, the angel who saved a life. Chief Urbina raised a glass of fruit wine. "Today, I thank God for sending me an angel in the form of a young girl," he said. "Someone with courage, truth, and a gift the world cannot ignore." Everyone clapped. Amara blushed, but while others were laughing and eating, she stepped out to the balcony. She stood under the stars and looked out across the quiet street. That's when she heard it. A voice. Not loud, not near, but clear. A woman crying, "I don't want to die. Please, someone help me." Amara frowned. She couldn't see anyone, but the voice, was in her head. She focused. I'm at Ikeja. I need a doctor. Please. Amara turned sharply. Her gift was calling again. Someone was in danger. The voice didn't fade. Even after Amara went back inside the mansion, even after the laughter and music died down for the night, even after she laid her head on her soft new pillow for the very first time, it stayed. I don't want to die. Someone please help me. It wasn't a dream. It wasn't imagination. It was another cry for help inside her head. And it felt urgent. The next morning inside Obina's study, Amara paced back and forth while Chief Obina read the newspaper. You said you heard someone crying for help? He asked, setting the paper aside. Yes. I don't know where exactly, but I think it's a woman. She's in pain. She's scared. She kept saying she's in Ikeja and she needs a doctor. Obina rubbed his beard thoughtfully. Your gift has never led you wrong before. We'll follow it. He picked up his phone and called someone. 30 minutes later, a car was waiting outside. I'm coming with you, Obina said, wearing a simple kaftan and a wide-brimmed hat. Amara's eyes widened. But, you just recovered. I've been through worse, he said with a smile. Let's go save a life. The driver took them through the busy Lagos roads to Ikeja. As they moved deeper into town, the voice in Amara's mind grew louder. She's close, Amara whispered. They stopped near a street lined with small clinics, corner shops, and older buildings. Amara stepped out of the car, turned her head slowly, then froze. There. She pointed at a rundown 2-story building with a faded sign. Divine Mercy Maternity Home. She rushed inside, Chief Obina following behind with the guard. The hallway was dimly lit, the walls cracked and dusty. They reached a small room near the back where a nurse sat on a bench, looking overwhelmed. Amara didn't wait. She stepped forward and opened the door behind the nurse. What she saw made her gasp. A young woman, maybe in her early 20s, lay curled on one arm clutched around her belly. Her lips were dry, her gown soaked in sweat, and her other hand gripped a piece of torn cardboard like it was her lifeline. Amara rushed to her. The woman opened her eyes weakly. Please, help me. I'm dying. I'm here, Amara said, holding her hand. Chief Obina stepped in next. One look at the woman, and his face changed. His voice dropped. That's Adaora, the daughter of my late business partner. Amara blinked in shock. You know her? He nodded. Her father was one of the few men I trusted. He died last year. She disappeared soon after. Amara didn't need more convincing. She turned to the nurse. Why is no one attending to her? The nurse looked ashamed. She came in last night. No ID, no money. We didn't know who to contact. We didn't think she'd make it. Then thank God I heard her mind, Amara said. Chief Obina immediately called his private ambulance. Within minutes, a medical team arrived and carefully lifted Adaora into a stretcher. As they moved her into the vehicle, Adaora weakly held Amara's hand. You heard me? Amara nodded. Yes, I heard your mind, and your cry for help. Tears filled Adaora's eyes. Thank you. Thank you. Back at the mansion, that night, Chief Obina paced his study. She was 3 hours from dying, he said, holding a doctor's report. Severe internal infection from a ruptured appendix. He looked at Amara with wonder. You saved her? Again. Amara lowered her eyes. I just followed the voice. Obina chuckled. And somehow, that voice keeps leading you to the people I care about. Amara sat in silence, the weight of everything sinking in. I never asked for this gift, she said, but I don't think it's random anymore. Obina nodded. It's a gift, and a purpose. You're not just meant to heal with medicine, but with truth. That's rare. There was a knock at the door. The housemaid peeked in. Sir, there's someone here to see Amara. Amara raised an eyebrow. Me? The maid nodded. He says he's a teacher. From her old school. Amara walked into the living room to see a tall, kind-faced man standing near the entrance. His clothes were plain. He held a brown file in one hand. "Amara," he said with a wide smile. She gasped. "Mr. Uche?" "Yes," he laughed. "I almost didn't recognize you. Look at you living in a mansion." She laughed and hugged him. "You were the only one who ever believed in me," she said. "You gave me free textbooks when I had no money." He nodded proudly. "And you made me proud every day, which is why I brought this." He handed her the brown file. She opened it, and her eyes widened. It was a university admission letter to study medicine and surgery at Lagos State University. She looked up in disbelief. "Your results were excellent," he said. "I submitted them for scholarship consideration without telling you, and you got in." Amara burst into tears. She held the letter to her chest. That night, alone in her room, Amara stared out her window. In 1 year, she had gone from begging at motor parks to saving a billionaire to receiving an admission to become the very doctor she dreamed of being. But this time, it wasn't just for her. She had people to protect, people to save, people whose secrets she could hear, even when no one else did. She closed her eyes and whispered, "Thank you, God, for this gift." Amara begins her journey as a medical student under Chief Obina's guidance. Amara adjusted the strap of her backpack and stepped into the tall glass doors of Lagos State University Teaching Hospital. Her heart pounded not with fear, but with excitement. She was here, not as a visitor, not as a beggar, but as a medical student. Her white lab coat felt like a promise on her shoulders. Her ID card now bore her full name, Amara Chukwudi Obina, medical student. Chief Obina stood beside her, smiling proudly. He had insisted on dropping her off himself on her first day. "You've already saved lives without a stethoscope," he whispered. "Now imagine what you'll do with one." Amara grinned, her hand lightly squeezing his. "Thank you, Dad," she said softly. It was the first time she called him that. Obina's eyes welled up with tears. He pulled her into a hug, holding her longer than expected. "You go and make me proud," he said. "Go and change the world." Inside the lecture hall, the auditorium buzzed with excitement. First-year medical students filled the seats, flipping through notebooks and whispering about schedules and classes. Amara found a spot in the second row and sat quietly. She had barely opened her bag when a voice from behind said, "Hey, you're the girl from the news, right?" She turned. A tall boy with glasses and a warm smile leaned forward. "My name's Namdi," he said. "I watched your story on TV. You saved Chief Obina?" Amara gave a small smile. "I was just in the right place, at the right time." "Well, that makes two of us," he said, sliding into the seat beside her. They laughed, and that was the beginning of something unexpected. Weeks later, Amara and Namdi became close fast. He was brilliant, always helping her revise her notes and pushing her to stay focused. But beyond the classroom, there was something gentle about him, something kind. They would walk together after classes, eat suya by the school gate, and sit under the mango tree near the student hostel to talk about everything from life to dreams to pain. One evening, as they sat watching the sky fade into orange, Namdi turned to her. "Amara," he said softly, "do you ever feel like you're meant for something more than just medicine?" She blinked. "Like what?" "Like something you can't explain but feel deep inside. A reason you're alive. Something tied to who you are." Her throat tightened. "I feel it every day," she said, "but I can't explain it." He stared at her carefully. Then he said something that made her freeze. "I think you can hear people's thoughts." Amara's heart stopped. "What did you say?" Namdi looked serious now. "Don't be scared. I haven't told anyone. But I've seen the way you look at people. How you know things you shouldn't." She stood up. Her palms were sweaty. "I don't know what you're talking about." But he stood too, calm. "My older sister has the same gift. She hears things, sees flashes. She works with security now undercover. She told me people like you exist." Amara stepped back. "You shouldn't be telling me this. I'm telling you because I trust you," he said. "And because someone like you will never be safe unless you know who's watching. Amara's breath caught in her throat. That night inside the mansion, Amara sat in her room, eyes wide open, staring at the ceiling. She couldn't sleep. Namdi's words played over and over in her mind. People like you will never be safe. Was someone watching her? Was her gift attracting attention? She sat up, grabbed her phone, and typed a message to Chief Obinna. "Can we talk in the morning?" He replied instantly, "Of course, my angel. I'm always here." She held her phone to her chest and took a deep breath. In the morning, Chief Obinna told her not to worry, that what she has is a special gift and not a curse. 4 years later, the hall was filled with thunderous applause. The banner overhead read, Lagos State University Graduation Ceremony. Amara stood on the stage, her white medical gown flowing around her, the gold medal for best graduating student hanging around her neck. Chief Obinna sat in the front row, eyes wet with pride. When she finished her speech, the entire hall rose in a standing ovation. But as she stepped off the stage, her gift returned loud, urgent, and sharp. A woman in the crowd. Her smile was wide, but her heart full of poison. "I'll wait till she's alone. The injection will do the job. She'll sleep forever." Amara's heart dropped. Someone had come to kill her. Who is the woman planning to end Amara's life, and why? Has her gift enemies now? She said to herself with tears. The voice was sharp, cold, and clear. "She'll sleep forever. One little prick, and she's gone." Amara scanned the crowd, heart pounding. Her smile froze, but her eyes searched. The woman's voice echoed in her head, but her face was hidden behind cheerful applause. Then, there she was. A tall woman in a black suit, clapping slowly, a gloved hand resting lightly on her handbag. Amara stepped down from the stage, feigning calm. She whispered to the security guard nearby, "That woman in black, she has a needle in her bag. She's here to hurt me." The guard blinked, confused. "How do you know?" "No time. Just stop her now," she whispered with fierce urgency. He nodded and moved quickly. The woman, realizing something was wrong, turned to leave, but it was too late. 2 guards intercepted her at the exit. They opened the bag. Inside, a loaded syringe filled with clear liquid. The hall went silent. Gasps followed as security dragged her forward. Amara stared her down. "Why?" she asked. The woman scoffed. "You ruined my brother's life, Jerry. He died in prison because of you." Amara flinched. "You destroyed our family's future," the woman growled. "You and that old man." Chief Obinna, now by Amara's side, stepped forward. "Your brother tried to kill me." "He was desperate," she spat. "We were all poor. You had everything. And then this little witch, reading people's minds like she's God." The guards pulled her back. Amara stood tall. "I'm not God," she said calmly. "I'm just someone who chose to do the right thing, even when it was dangerous." A month later, the woman, identified as Jerry's sister, was tried and sentenced for attempted murder. Amara visited her once, behind glass. "I forgive you," Amara told her softly. "Hate only destroys." The woman wept. That day, Amara walked out of the prison gates into bright sunlight, Obinna waiting for her, holding her white coat. "Ready to begin your residency, Dr. Amara Obinna?" She smiled. "Ready." 3 years later, the Obinna Foundation Hospital stood tall in Ikoyi Modern, bright and free for the poor. Inside, Amara walked the halls in her full doctor's coat. Staff greeted her with respect. Patients whispered blessings. And there, walking beside her, was her husband, Dr. Namandi, now head of cardiology. They had married quietly in a private ceremony. On her wedding day, Obinna had walked her down the aisle, proudly weeping, calling her his greatest miracle. Now their daughter, Eliana, ran into Amara's arms. "Mummy!" The 3-year-old laughed. Amara lifted her high. Obinna, seated by the garden, watched with a smile only a father could wear. From a poor orphan selling groundnut under bridges and bus stations, to a healer, to a wife, a proud mother, to a daughter of destiny. All because, one day, she followed a whisper in her heart. and listen to the voice no one else could hear. What is your view about this story? Where are you watching from? If you enjoyed this story, comment, share, and subscribe to our channel for more interesting stories.